So Nick, we've done a lot of homework. We've got our plan together. We know which funders we want to go talk to. Talk a little bit about getting ready for that pitch, giving that presentation. What all goes into that for the entrepreneur, for the people that are getting things started?
So know your numbers, whether it's your projections or forecasts, right? If you're a true startup and you haven't gotten the funding yet, you have to explain where they're coming from and why they're realistic. If people don't believe in the numbers you're putting out there, they're not going to develop the confidence enough to lend you or invest in the company. If you're a business that already secured startup capital and you're looking for more capital to grow, then prove your numbers out. Show your historical numbers and that you know what you need to do financially in order to help grow, right? You've seen oftentimes on Shark Tank, right, is a good example, where they go before the sharks on the TV show and they say, I want $250,000. They say, what is it for? Say, well, probably marketing, I'm not sure. Know what you need it for, whether you're going to a bank or you're going to investors. They want to know that you've dialed in what that use of proceeds is for.
Yeah, and what I like about that example, like a Shark Tank, they don't just hear what you're saying. They come back with questions. And they say, so tell me about that. And they dig in.
Yeah.
So how do you prepare for that? What I used to do is I would actually get done with my presentation, and then I would go, okay, if I was on the other side of the table, what questions would I ask? And I would take a piece of paper and draw a line down the middle, and here are the questions they might come up with. And then I would make sure I had my answers on the other side of that piece of paper. What else can you do? What kinds of things do you do? I mean, do you practice? Do you research? Do you rehearse? What do you do to get ready for that?
Well, I mean, benchmarking is one thing we talked about, right? You have industry benchmarks for your industry, right? Being able to say, hey, my gross profit or my net profit is, 5% higher than the industry, right? Being able to prove that you're performing at or better than industries is important. I would say there's professionals around you, run it by them, right? It's interesting. You could have like a tax attorney, right? And you say to yourself, well, it's only if I have a tax situation. They've looked at numbers before. They do know it, right? Or someone who is a CPA who maybe doesn't prepare your tax returns. You could say, hey, take a look at it. What questions would you have? Right? Pose those questions. And that will prepare you for, this big meeting, right? You want to be realistic. You want to be optimistic, but you never want to put numbers on paper that you're unlikely to deliver, right? It's just a bad practice. It's faith, right? It's your own integrity, and it's the faith that the investors and the banks have in you. And even, from a bank perspective, right, I spent 20 plus years in commercial banking. When I would first look at the financials, I would have a slew of questions. And if the controller or the accountant or if the business owner couldn't answer those questions, there was a lack of confidence in saying, if they don't know the answers and I have questions about it, I can only make my assumptions, but it is important that they know the numbers and they see what's happening. We get back to financials tell a story. You could either accurately tell your story as an entrepreneur or business owner, or you could let people kind of come up with and fabricate their own story as a third party.
And practice.
Yeah.